Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to Face the Facts. I am Nick Face. We are now in the wonderful year of 2023. We hope everybody had a great holiday. We hope everybody had a happy new year and is starting their year off right by listening to us. We want to welcome Phil Healy into our program. Phil, how are you? How was your New Year's? What's new in the life of Phil Healy?
Hi, Nick. How you doing? Happy New Year's to you too. We had as I was talking to you off air, we had a good one. It was very low key, but it's been nice enough. Time is not something I have a grasp on at the moment, as I'm sure a lot of
Welcome to
us
the
are
club.
still. Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, it isn't, I don't necessarily make resolutions or anything like that, but it was nice to kind of just ring it in and, I'm a jovial enough guy where I'll stupidly say Happy New Year to everyone I see within a week or two of it turning the new year. But it was good. It's good to be here and talk about some fun and crazy stuff that's happened in the world of New England sports.
We got a lot going on. Everybody has something to talk about for today. I know I said I was going to ban the Red Sox, but they surprised the hell out of us about a week ago with some news. So we're going to leave them to the fourth slot today because that's as far as they deserve. We want to go to the Boston Bruins first because they should be, they are the talk of the city right now. And it has been nothing but a joy, nothing but a pleasure, nothing but a pure excitement to watch this team. They are appointment television, folks. If you have not gotten a chance to sit down and watch the games, you need to, because what you're witnessing right now is history. You are seeing production from this team from all different levels. Their offensive game is killer. Their defense looks phenomenal. They got a Vezina-esque goalie in there between the pipes, which is Linus Ullmark. They're a wrecking ball right now. They are a wrecking ball. They just got a wonderful week done under their belt with a Winter Classic victory at Fenway Park against John Henry's gutless Penguins. I have to throw that little subtle thing right at them. I was in attendance. It was a phenomenal game, and we'll talk about that on the show. The Bruins then went on a West Coast trip, and typically when a team travels out west, you're a little off kilter. You're a little off with your time clock. Your play might be a little bit different. Not for this team. LA Kings, who are one of the better teams in the Western Conference, they pulled off a 5-2 victory against them on Thursday night. And then they played Saturday, Sunday. They played, let me figure it out. Saturday night they played, I actually have to cheat on this because I actually forget. I have so much going on in my mind that sometimes I just forget. The Sharks. They took care of the Sharks. They bit them all and got a nice victory on that game. I want to say that one was 5-2 as well. And then there was an absolute abomination on Sunday night against the Anaheim Ducks, which is a 7-1 thriller. The Bruins have been off for a couple days this early parts of this next week. They return to the Garden to play the new expansion team, the Seattle Kraken, Thursday night. I don't know how much you've been watching, Phil. I don't know how much you've been listening or knowing about kind of what's been going on with this team. They are, in the 2023 kind of vocabulary, a wagon right now, where it doesn't look like there's any end in sight for this team to stop from producing. So let's have a little nice conversation about them. So what have you seen?
I haven't seen much. I will say that as per usual on the show on the.
Gonna give you a homework assignment. Watch the next game.
I was listening. I'll always listen when it comes on the radio because a lot of times, as any Boston sports fan will know, the C's and the B's will be on at the same time or the game will overlap. Yep. So normally where you get to listen on the radio, which is one of my favorite things to do, actually, to be very honest. The Bruins call is one of my favorite things because it was Jack. Because who's on the radio call? It's Jack.
The radio broadcast is Bob Beers and Judd Surratt.
That's
the
right.
TV broadcast is Rock'em Sock'em Robots, Jack.
Edwards, yeah.
And
Jack
Edwards. Jack Edwards has been on another planet this year.
But he's I always enjoy him, but I also enjoy Bud Surratt and the crew on the radio. They're always entertaining. And I always am.
It's a fun broadcast. It's a fun listen.
Yeah, I love it. And I also love the C's broadcast, Brandy and Max. But I haven't caught a lot, but I've been following every now and again. I'm just like, oh, only 4 losses, and more than halfway through the season, pretty much. And
it's just from everybody that they're getting things from. I mean, as you know, when the season began, you had the return of Bergeron. David Krejci came back to town.
and Pasternak,
They
right?
had Pasta now healthy.
Mhm.
Pasta is now over 30 goals right now in the season. He has been on an absolute tear.
Huh.
They are so fun, and I just hope that this team can make it to the promised land and get that cup, because they deserve every ounce of credit this season. They made a change. Bruce Cassidy with the coach and everything. He'd been there for about 6 years for the team. He's now coaching with Vegas. They bring in Jim Montgomery. He has been nothing but awesome. I don't think the coach change was a big thing for fans. I know a lot of Cassidy people who are like, oh, Team Cassidy, but the players definitely feel like they want to play for Montgomery. And you got to listen to, it's a players' league. You got to go with what the players want. And if the players are showing a good production from winning, getting the job done from everybody clicking and gelling in all different sorts of capacities, hey, make it work. Make it work. And they have done that. The only little hiccup that the Bruins have right now is Jake DeBrusk is on injured reserve. It's not too serious. It's going to be out for about a month. But because the Bruins have so much depth, I'm not concerned about this. You saw a couple different line changes and different kind of units out there in the past week. You had Pasta actually go back a couple games with Bergeron and Marchand, and you got a lot of production recently now from Brad Marchand. He had an awesome West Coast trip. David Pasternak, no matter if you put him on line 1 or 2, he's just such a dynamic player. And that is something that is awesome to see, but you also need to make sure that David Pasternak is a part of the plans for the future. And as far as we know, things look very good on that, and he will be having the extension with the Bruins. They just have to make sure cap-wise that they have enough money that's projected for the next season to put dot the I's and cross the T's from everything. So that's very promising there. They are using a couple different players right now filling in for DeBrusk. You had Chris Wagner return. He just got reassigned back down to Providence. There is a new call-up that'll be coming up for tomorrow's game. That looks like he'll slot into the 4th line. Let me just give you the name of who it is. I had not heard about his name before. So I'm going to cheat again and give you the most up-to-date information, because you know what? That's what we like to do. The Bruins have recalled Juna Kupanen, and they have assigned Chris Wagner back to Providence. So we'll see what happens on that front. Again, the Bruins will be returning back home on Thursday night to play the Seattle Kraken. Then they will play Saturday night, which will be an awesome game because they're neck and neck right now with the Toronto Maple Leafs. That'll be at the Garden. And then the next game for the Bruins will be a matinee game for Martin Luther King Day against the Philadelphia Flyers. So those are your next 3 games that the Bruins have right there. Appointment television Saturday night, no doubt about it, against the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's going to be a team within your Eastern Conference that if they're in the playoffs and everything, they need to take down the Leafs. And the Bruins, kind of throughout history, at least the past 10 or so years, have typically taken care of the Toronto Maple Leafs pretty well. Jumping the gun there with them. Can't talk about the Montreal Canadiens. No.
And former coach Claude Julien,
who's not even coaching in the league anymore right now.
Oh, really? Okay, I'm sorry. He got ousted.
I wasn't a Claude fan, so
no. Well, but that was the last
championship there, but that was Tim Thomas built right there.
No, that's Timmy T. We have to give Julien a little credit. He got him to 2 cups, or got him to 2 cup finals. At least
for 2013 and then 2011. Yes.
Yep. 2011.
So always in kind of contention with him there. Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to add on the black and gold?
No, just to let you know, hey, I have to listen and watch more
It's your homework
'cause
assignment now.
a little bit, yeah,
Yeah.
thanks.
It's a fun homework assignment, though, I
Yeah, it
must
seems
say.
pretty good. I mean, I would like one of the things I always worry, and I hope this will probably bridge into our next team, possibly, but the regular season is nice, but you gotta be ready. My biggest fear is just like not being battle tested or not being
Yep.
like ready for the postseason. But this also isn't this isn't a young team. This is a team comprised of a lot of veterans and pretty much like essentially like the core from that 2011 minus uh Chara
Yep.
and a handful of others, but more or less Bergeron, uh, and you have Marchand, and you have wasn't Krejci wasn't part of that. He was added later.
Yeah, no,
No, Krejci was on.
Krejci has been a part of well, he's a part of 2011s and the
Yeah,
13 kind of run against the Blackhawks and all. But what you have is a veteran core. This
yeah.
core knows that window's closing. It's
Hmm.
do or die time now, and time to raise it up to get that piece of hardware. We'll put it as blunt as we can on that. That cup
Yeah,
needs to come back home to Boston.
and we're very lucky to have two teams in serious contention for
I guess that
respective
means we're ready to
championships.
segue. But before
Yeah.
I do that, I just did want to mention the whole Fenway experience with the Winter
Oh, please,
Classic.
yeah, please,
So
and
I
also if you
did
could,
get a
if you
chance.
could
Yep. I did
position
get a
yourself
chance
a
to go
little
to the
more
game.
in
It
front of
was
the screen,
packed.
Nick.
It was packed. Oh, how's that?
There you go. There you go.
It was
Sorry.
packed. The atmosphere was electric. The layout, the look, the feel, everything they did was stellar. But the best part, I have to tell you, Phil, is that the Pittsburgh Penguins, which I know you know,
Yeah,
John Henry owns them now.
yeah, a part owner, right?
He is
Or
no,
is it
he's the full
fully?
out.
Oh, really?
He's the full out. So what was hysterical about this is he actually was at the park, was in the players' lot and everything, and the fans gave him hell. Hell. And he deserved every ounce of it. It was awesome
That's
because
beautiful.
he had to walk through the stands and everything, and he was torturized. So I
Of
applaud
course.
you, Boston Bruins fans, for giving that gutless weasel all the love in the world, because the next day, and we'll talk about this upcoming in our show, that the announcement of Rafi Devers as the long-term commitment for the Red Sox was made official. So
Yeah.
did the fans actually have a
They
little
might
bit
have
of
scared him.
say
They couldn't have
in
scared it
this
out of him.
extension here? I want to toot my own horn and say, yes, we did. So kudos to you fans for standing up to our lovely owner of the Boston Red Sox and the Penguins. But it was just an awesome experience. They really did a nice job. And even the Bruins came out before the game. They had the old Red Sox jerseys and stuff. They made it more so like a baseball field. So the Pittsburgh Penguins were wearing the Pirates uniforms, and the coaches had the whole get up with their jackets and made it look like it was from the 1900s, 1920s, 30s era, kind of right there. So that was pretty cool.
No, it sounds awesome. It looked like a great thing. I'm glad you were able to share it with your fans.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So that was very cool. But now I would like to move to the second team that should be talked about in the city. They don't deserve to be first right now. I'm sorry. They're not first.
That's fair. That's fair.
It is the Boston Celtics. Ever since the Christmas game on Christmas Day, where they faced off against the Bucks and they destroyed the Bucks and everything there, I feel it's been a mixed bag of suckage, decent, spectacular. No middle ground for this team right now, which I'm a little concerned about. So a little difference here is the Celtics did go on a West Coast trip, basically, and they had their ups, but then they had their really bad downs. And it was kind of different with how the Bruins just took care of business on their trip versus how the Celtics were very mediocre. And I feel like they're very mediocre still right now. And I'm a little concerned. And the reason I'm concerned here is this team hasn't proven anything yet. They have not. They have not. And I think they get a little too confident and a little too cocky for themselves when they haven't done anything. Win a championship and then don't show up to maybe a layup game, or do something to beat a team and then take care of the trash of the league, basically, and blow them out, kind of like the Bruins just did against the Ducks. These shouldn't be losses. These should not be giveaway games. You take everything you can get, and you show up and you put in 100% of the effort. So I don't know what is going on with the team. I know Phil follows them a little bit more than I do. I am cautiously concerned about where this team's going to end up when the playoffs end.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, over to you.
You're all set.
Make me not feel concerned.
No, I mean, listen. There's a lot of stuff. Jaylen Brown called them out after their Oklahoma City Thunder debacle, and
that was a disgrace. I just have to say,
yeah, it wasn't a good game at all.
Shameful.
Yeah, wasn't good.
Worst
and
loss since 1979 for the Celtics, over 50 points.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a real telltale sign of how, like, they, for example, you haven't done anything. You made it to the finals. You've been a really good team this year so far, but you haven't won anything. Nope. And this is what I talk about. Like, I was echo the sentiments of when, like 5 minutes ago, bringing up the Bruins being great regular season team. You got to watch it because who knows what happens further down the line. And the Celtics are coming back down to earth a little bit from the crazy heat check of a shooting start. So what we have now is the Celtics playing down to opponents and not really rising to, not taking care of the trash, as you said. But you know what? The record against good teams with good records is pretty damn good, and they're still a good team. Like, this isn't a bad team that just was masquerading as a great team. This team will have it should have peaks and valleys to it. Maybe not as many valleys as you think. I mean, it probably won't have as many valleys. The peaks will be more abundant, and I think when you have Brown and Tatum and everyone, knock on wood, stays healthy, your things will be fine. And Robert Williams is coming around, and like I said in a previous show, like, who knows how that'll upset the chemistry that they had at the beginning of the year for their offensive kind of play, because they played more 5 out, which meant everyone on the perimeter offensively. And Robert Williams can't shoot the three. He has a little bit of an elbow jumper he can use, but other than that, no. But he's also a great weapon to have. One of my favorite games I had him at, actually, I think it was during the Orlando, or no, it was the Houston game at home a week ago, I think, right before the new year, I think the 28th or something. And it just, like, Jaylen Brown coming down the court, and he just, like, kind of tosses it from the 3-point line to just Robert Williams just alley-oop. And it was one of those things where it was like, hey, we can do this, like, at any time. And I think it adds an element to it, but I think they're going to go back and forth, and they're going to, I don't know. I think they'll rise to the occasion, to the big teams, and they'll play it cool for the other ones, which, honestly, one of my favorite sports writers, Chris Gasper, brought up, like, Tatum's minutes have been crazy high, even Brown a bit. And it's like, maybe we should rest these guys a little bit, because it seemed like they were kind of worn, but towards the end of the year, towards the end of the finals in general. And they already played last year a long season. I mean, they played till the very, like, just shy of one additional game. So pretty much almost every game you could play in the season. So maybe, like, I don't really care about MVP stuff. I mean, it's kind of nice. It's adorable in its own right. But, and, hey, yeah, who doesn't want their guy to win it? It's not a bad badge, but it's not worth killing yourself and not getting the ultimate goal, which is winning a championship, which I think Tatum is locked in on. I'm not going to say he isn't, but I think it's almost more of an organizational flaw here, where they're, like, really pushing this MVP thing, which, yeah, you could easily say he's in that conversation. But I think the team would do better if his minutes were kind of, give him a rest. Yeah, I don't know. I could go on, but that's the initial thought. I think you not necessarily should be worried, Nick, but I mean, just let's see how they handle the next couple games going forward. Although the Pelicans is tonight, Wednesday night, and Thursday, so it's a pretty tough back-to-back. Pelicans and then Brooklyn. But Brooklyn was out Kevin Durant; he got injured, which is kind of a shame because I was looking forward to that matchup. And the Nets are for real. And I never counted them out because they have it. It's Durant and Kyrie, and if they ever figured it out, which they clearly have, at least to quite a degree, they went on quite a tear. They're now like a game or 2 games behind you, and all those games you should have really had, like you say, all those layup games coming to bite you in the behind. But I don't fear Brooklyn in the sense that I think it might not be a sweep like it was last year, but I think the Celtics would be able to take care of them. But also like take them seriously, take all these teams seriously because any team can take you out.
So from my observation from what I've seen with the team, I think a lot of this also can be stemmed from some inexperience from the coaching staff with Joe Mazzulla in particular. I think that he's learning on the go. I mean, let's be real here. He was put into a situation that nobody thought was going to happen to start this year. Very telling how Udoka is suspended and everything, but he's not with anybody. He was reportedly supposed to be going to Brooklyn, but that never happened.
Or Philly, I think at one point.
Or Philly, and they haven't touched him.
Nope.
And notice how they've kept the interim tag on Mazzulla as well, which is very interesting.
Yeah, that pains me. I'll be honest.
So I'm a little confused. I guess the door is still open for Udoka's return. And the question, I mean, we can't say that officially. What we have to also think about and process is how are the players going to respond to something like that if Udoka actually is back for next season? I will say, I think that they are missing Udoka as their coach. I do think that because I think he is somebody that isn't afraid of confrontation. I think Mazzulla is kind of a church mouse. And what I mean by that is I don't think he'll confront Tatum or Brown or Smart to let them know these are things that aren't acceptable and we need to get to a better place than where we're at right now. I think that's one of the reasons why some of these losses, one of the historic losses in particular against OKC, had something to do with the coaching. He's been okay, but let's be real here. How much impact do you really think a coach was going to do with this unit that he pretty much was kind of handed to?
Yeah, it's just given a Lamborghini.
I just think he's a talking head. Yes, they like him. Great. But they have to have a figurehead as whoever the coach is and everything.
Well, you got to have a head coach. I mean, regardless.
There were player coaches back in the day from everything.
No, that's true. No, there were. And Bill Russell was one of them. Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of egos that he has to manage in this. And I think Udoka did a hell of a job last season managing those egos and keeping players intact and keeping them all kind of level-headed on the optimal goal of what to do. What I think that we also need to look at here is how is this team going to produce with him when the playoffs hit? Me right now, I don't think the Celtics are going to get back to the finals. I don't. Not this year. Not with what I see with Udoka and everything right there. I think this is going to be probably an Eastern Conference get to, and then maybe it's going to be an early exit again.
Who do you think will knock them off?
I think Brooklyn might actually do it this year. And it's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be embarrassing because I think that that's going to be not very well received by some of the green heads or the green hats.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because everything is, we made the playoffs. Yeah. Again, I think we're still going to be talking about, and I like to predict the future. I want to be wrong. But as it's going right now, I have to go with what is right now. I'm a very much what is kind of feel. I don't feel this team is going to get to where the promised land is. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't know if I can listen. I
don't feel warm and bubbly about a championship right now.
Yeah, listen, the East is a lot more powerful than I think people give it credit. Maybe they do. Actually, a lot of people do, because I think the West is kind of like, who knows? But you never know. Just like in the NFL, it depends on where you get to that point. I mean, the Celtics at this point in the season were like 12-22. So I mean, like if anything goes on a run, like a Brooklyn goes on a run, or Philly, which is playing good basketball too, goes on a run, and Milwaukee is still Milwaukee, they'll be there, and the Heat have your number in a lot of ways, and I like who knows what happens with Cleveland. I mean, you have at least 5 or 6 good teams in there that'll vie for a spot in the Eastern Conference. That could you could I wouldn't be surprised either way if any of those 5 or 6 teams made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think the Celtics, if they remain healthy and they just keep playing, like just like I think Mazzulla, as you put it, being a figurehead or whatever, I think he's more of a doormat. I don't think he's necessarily a doormat. I think he's more of a guy who will listen to the players and kind of allow more things.
He knew the culture. He knew the team. He knew the players. That I give Celtics a lot of credit on.
Yeah, he was on the staff.
Implementing him in there with the staff.
They just shifted him. They gave him promotion.
But does he have the experience right now with being a championship caliber coach? I can't say in full confidence that he does. I want to be wrong.
Like well, no, he doesn't because he hasn't won a championship, Nick.
There you go. Neither did Udoka.
No, so, but Udoka had been on like
at least he got to the finals
on the staff,
he was with the Spurs under Popovich and everything.
Yeah.
To know what it takes to get that trophy at the end of the season. So that was the reasoning why they hired him in the first place. When Brad Stevens wanted to depart, the reason for Udoka was because of the relationship and because of his history with the Spurs and Popovich.
And so also the players knew him too from Team USA.
Player morale. You know, you want to have somebody you want to play for. That I completely agree.
Well, they also knew him from working on Team USA.
Yep.
With Popovich and all his staff and Coach K. So listen, are they playing to their potential right now? No. 6 of those losses you could easily chalk up to being kind of a garbage thing, like losing to Orlando twice in a row. But also, you know what? Yeah, the Celtics do have a sort of kryptonite. They have like if you have a big team that can shoot, then that's a bit of a problem. We're long, fast, and we can shoot. We don't have as many big men, but we have Robert Williams back. You have when you have Al and Williams in there, it's tough. And I don't even think we have our finalized. Like you don't have your starting lineup really set. You really don't. And that's another weird thing too. Robert Williams isn't necessarily in the starting lineup. I actually don't think he started yet. He might have started one of those games. But listen,
they're lobbying his minutes, and I agree with it right now.
No, I think
it doesn't matter.
100%.
They can win without him. On this show from before. I would have rather him come back in March, right before the playoffs started, so he's
I don't know.
Healed up more. I still am concerned with long haul Robert Williams. I am. I think he is still. Those knees scare the hell out of me. They scare the hell out of me.
Just jumping and running around at this point of the year. Listen, I agree with you to a certain extent.
I want to be an optimist, not a pessimist. I want to be optimistic.
No, these are legit concerns.
Let's hope things get better. And they work their way around showing up to every single game and getting the job done. Because right now, it's a half-assed effort for some of these games. And that can't happen. If you're a championship team, show up, play, and beat the trash of the league. Don't lose and lose bad.
And I don't think, since the Thunder game, I think those last 3 or 4 games, I think it's only been 3, they haven't lost, and they've kind of they played down a little bit to their opponents. But also, here's a crazy thing, too. And this isn't an excuse, but this is more of an explanation. Yeah, everyone's bringing their best game to them. So night after night, they're getting and that I will say this. I will give you maybe the hope that you need. They're getting battle tested every night. And sometimes when they feel like their opponent is beneath them, I don't think they give their all. Or if the situation is beneath them. Maybe not just the opponent, but just the stakes. And listen, I don't people take a night off in their head or in their play. I mean, all right. There's some stuff there you can get away with, but you got to be careful because if you keep going down that road, then you don't know how to get back, and then also people will the league figures you out. Like in most sporting leagues, teams figure you out what you do, so you have to constantly be evolving your game and doing your thing. I mean, it's happening with Tatum and Brown and the rest of them. So you have to keep at it. So yeah, I'm with you, and I think I don't think. Talk to me in March or end of February, and we'll see where we're at. Do I think they'll be fine? I think they'll be fine. But yeah, I think you can definitely be like, yeah, I don't like how some of the stuff is going. And Jalen Brown
I
called
mean,
him
we
out
can
on it.
also be
Pretty.
honest here and say at this point last year, we were talking about it. We were talking playoffs.
Oh
Really?
yeah, sure, yeah,
So I'll take this versus what we were at last season.
yeah.
So
But that's all the more point to that. Or all going to that kind of angle. Anything can change like that in a second.
okay.
And that's kind of like you get worried and you just hope they play it through. But yeah, I'm not necessarily worried, but I always look forward to watching them play. And I'm a green teamer in a lot of
I
ways,
know
but I
you
also
are.
can
That's right.
well, but I also know when stuff's not tracking. You know what I mean? And like if they can't do it, because they should have wiped the floor with the Spurs and they didn't. But also the Spurs gave you a decent game, and if people run at them and they're not ready to match that, that's where they have trouble.
Next up on the talking board is the New England Patriots. And they're one of those right now that should have absolute full blame on how mediocre, miscoached, mismanaged this team was this year. So we don't have that much time because we want to finish this up relatively quickly in about another like 20 minutes or so. But I want to make sure that we talk about our concerns. We talk about the direction this team is going to be heading, changes that we feel need to be made, because you've gone 3 seasons now without Tom Brady as your quarterback. They are 45-45. If you want to count the what do you call it? The not 45-45. I'm trying to figure out what it was. They are, what did I see this stat as? 26-26, something like that. They are a 500 football team without Brady. They are under 500 if you want to count the playoff game they had against Buffalo. That is unacceptable, and changes need to be made. The question is, what changes are actually going to be made for next season, how realistic these changes are, and kind of what would you do if you were in charge of the Patriots? So overall for me, yes, the Patriots should have won a few more of these games, and yes, they should have been in the playoffs, but because they absolutely poo-pooed on some of these plays to end a game, they are not in the playoffs. And quite frankly, they didn't deserve to be in the playoffs from that embarrassment they had this season. Let's go over to Phil.
Yeah. Listen, I agree with you. You probably have like 2 or 3 games you could have won. If maybe situations were different, you played it differently, whatever. But yeah, I think, and you and a buddy of mine have the same mentality. I can't disagree on a wider scope or in the long haul. It's better that they didn't make it, because I mean the deep seated issues are this: you need to change your staff around. You need to do what is best for the entire team and not just for your legacy. Because Mac Jones isn't necessarily your problem. He had a pretty decent game. He had a good game. I think he had a good, despite having 3 picks in that game. He played pretty hard and he had some good reads. You could talk about all you want about, I don't care much for those inside the 20 picks. You're right. Like the Henry one across the middle was he was trying to force one in, and if he waited maybe a second or two, easier said than done. I'm not a QB in the NFL, but there are opportunities there. And also your special teams allowed 3 of the 5 return touchdowns this year in the NFL. Twice in what essentially was a playoff game with the Bills, it was a great weekend to watch games because you had like pretty much 4 or 5 playoff games already at the end of the year, like right. Jacksonville, Tennessee, and all that. But no, Nick, and I'm not panicking or worried. It's just kind of like, well, it depends. I asked me in like a month or 2 if they don't do anything with the staff. But this could be something where like, you know what, Bill, we're gonna part ways because you're gonna do what you're gonna do, and you're not, we don't want Gerard Mayo to leave. Your son's great, but maybe he shouldn't be the defensive coordinator. But the defense has been pretty good. Like I'll give them credit. It's pretty good. They need to get a little quicker up front, or maybe in the linebacking board. But I don't know. But yeah, go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
So I agree. I don't feel like you can chalk up all the blame on Mac Jones, but what I have a problem with is the direction they look at for him to be the quarterback. I feel they set Mac Jones up to fail this season. And I put full blame on Belichick. And I'm going to give you a whopper right now on what I actually hope does happen. I hope Bill is gone because I feel he is the problem right now for this team and the direction they're headed. I have always been a Tom Brady opponent. I always felt that a lot of this whole storied franchise and dynasty and all the success has to do with what you have on the football field. I'm not trying to take this away from Belichick, but he's the coach. He is not the one throwing touchdowns. He is not the one scoring plays and setting things up like that. Those are the players themselves. And right now, you have a tremendous amount of a sample size to see what life is without Brady. And it is unacceptable. So if I'm Robert Kraft, as I'm 82, 83 years old, and I probably want to see more winning around my team as the owner, I say, Bill, I appreciate everything you've done, but here's the ultimatum. We are stripping you from your GM title. You are still allowed to coach, but we are bringing in somebody else who is going to be calling the shots on how this team is headed. If you do not like that, you may retire or you may seek employment in another team. I don't think that's going to go over too well with Belichick because it's supposed to be having a meeting this week on what the direction is going to be headed for this team. The question I have is, does Kraft have the balls enough to stand up to Belichick and tell him, this isn't how we're going to do things here? It's been 3-4 years of mediocrity around here. The fans are tired. The fans want a winning product, and this is how we're going to do it. I also don't feel that Mac Jones is the future of this team. I don't. I think he's a mediocre quarterback at best in this league. Would I make a change if I had the opportunity to right now? Absolutely. Would I get rid of Mac Jones? No. I make Mac Jones learn under either one more season with Brady as a retirement tour kind of thing, or look elsewhere on a quarterback who is proven in this league that knows what the hell he's doing. I would entertain Jimmy Garoppolo. I would entertain Aaron Rodgers. I would entertain another quarterback in this league that legitimately knows how to win football games. That's what I would do. I also get rid of Matt Patricia. I tell him, thanks for the memories. Goodbye. I reassign Joe Judge to special teams. I bring in an entire new offensive coordinator. My offensive coordinator to choose would be Bill O'Brien at the current moment. I bring him back into play. I also, if Brady is plan A, because you have plenty of cap space, let's be real here. You have plenty of cap space. And how freaking fantastic would it be to bring him back and to let him go out on top? Let him build the team. Okay, Tom, what do you want? Let's get what you want because we have the resources and the capability of doing it. I think Robert Kraft would do this in a heartbeat. But it's going to take some stones to put Bill down because that is your problem, folks, on your team. Belichick is a coach right now that has proven that he can't get it done with what he has on his internal staff. And I also find it very telling that other coaches in this league don't want to coach with him. Phil, do you know why that is? I'll tell you why it is. Do you know why it is?
Well,
why don't coaches want to come to New England to coach for Belichick?
Oh, they won't be able to take over a head coach position.
Oh, but it's also it's his way of the highway.
Yeah, to be a
because he won't put roles on people. Patricia didn't get a role. Joe Judge didn't get a role. Jared Mayo didn't even get a role on defense. Didn't get it. That's why he's going to be out the door too. He's going to be coaching for the Browns, in my opinion.
Well, the defensive coordinator for the Browns,
defensive
possibly.
coordinator.
But you know
Yeah.
what? Yeah, that's a shame. That's a shame, man, because he's an
Your
asset.
problem, folks, and you need to identify this and you need to be real, is Bill Belichick himself. He needs to take his ego and take his cockiness and get a step down. And your owner needs to step up and tell him how it's going to be. I don't think it's going to happen. That's why I think we're going to be in for a little bit more of this mediocrity, unless you get Tom Brady back in the fold.
So do you think the Crafts have a bit, they feel they have a bit of what's the word I'm looking for? A bit of kind of almost like a family obligation. Their obligation to stay with Belichick because of what he's built there and what he's
From the
done. And
past. They're living in the
Do
past.
do you think, I mean, I get the picture from the media and just the overall vibe from that place that and that's kind of worn off a bit. But I mean, I could definitely see them being like, give me one more chance at this, or we'll keep you on. But I also see, like you say, the caveat of Robert and his son Jonathan being like, no, well, you gotta shift things around. You don't if you don't get rid of Patricia, move them to something else, bring someone in who, or put them on the defensive staff. Don't have him be your offensive coordinator again. Like you say, bring in a Bill O'Brien or someone else. Make things clear cut and don't set up like you said, and like I mentioned, setting up our quarterback Mac Jones not to fail, which I imagine he can be more than an average quarterback or better than average. But you know what? He I don't know. It didn't seem like much of a leap this year. Although that Bills game, I was impressed. I was legit impressed because I think they took more chances with him in that game.
So that's where I feel things are at with this team. I think that you have some good. I thought Ramondre Stevenson was probably one of your best players on offense. I think that the play calls from Patricia resulted in bad performances from Hunter Henry and Jono Smith for tight end coverage. I think receiver-wise, I know Jacoby Myers is a free agent. I would probably bring him back at some point. But again, this is all under if things are going to stay the same. If things are going to stay the same, we're all going to be smashing our heads through our televisions trying to watch this team again next year. And I don't want to do that. I actually want to enjoy Patriots football again. Because the last 3 seasons, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I could have given a you-know-what about this team. I'm sorry. I could have. I don't have the same feel without Brady as your quarterback or without somebody who knows what they're doing. I think I could feel okay if Jimmy Garoppolo is your quarterback next year because at least I know this guy at least has a proven track record and knows how to win. Is he injury prone? Sure. That's why a great insurance policy is to have Jones as your backup. So that's kind of how I feel with how the Patriots looked. I think it needs a lot of work, a lot of fine tooling and everything. I did find it very telling at the press conference, which was the other day, that Belichick came out and pretty much ripped Robert Kraft a new one. I don't know if you heard about it, but saying that, well, what do you expect with a 27th ranked team in the league that's spending money on players? So that's telling me a lot right there with that statement because Bill doesn't like to say too much to the media. There's something going on behind the scenes right now. Don't be surprised if what you just saw this last season for Belichick is it. Don't be surprised because I think thankfully Jonathan Kraft, Robert Kraft's son, has a little bit more fire in him and can make some changes as well because that's, when Robert Kraft steps down and everything and he's getting up there in age. It's going to be Jonathan's team. And I think that you're going to be in for some changes. And don't be surprised if you see some changes this week, as a matter of fact, to make them real quick. So.
And they should make them quick.
That's right.
And may I just add two things about, or just one thing about the Patriots before you go on to the Red Sox? I apologize.
Yep. No, I actually had another thing I wanted to say.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, before you're done on another whole entire thing in the NFL. So go ahead.
Oh, all right. Well, I just wanted to say, it was an honor, whether they're leaving or not. I feel like they are. It was great to have Matthew Slater and Devin McCourty as Patriots for the past, I'd like to say like maybe 10, 11 years, I think, maybe even a little longer. And I think they did the Patriot Way kind of thing, whether you think that's BS or not. They were
They
part
did.
of, yeah. No, I think they were great. They seemed like great fellas. They got involved in their community. They, they enjoyed playing the game, and they seemed to be great leadership in that locker room. So that'll be a void there. And I also think they seem like nice, nice educated gentlemen who stood up for the
They do.
community. And yeah, I think it's great to see them go off relatively healthy and able to walk on their own accord, as we've crazily seen with the Hamlin stuff. It's nice to see those two go off into the sunset.
The other thing I was going to mention for the rest of the league, I know you probably saw that Monday night game from Buffalo and Cincinnati, where Damar Hamlin went down and they stopped the game, and rightfully so. I was a proponent for stopping the game. What you just witnessed right there, you can't go back onto the football field after that. You can't. I'm sorry, you just can't. But we do need to take a moment and just say, for the medical professionals that were there, that were able to not just once, but twice resuscitate and get Damar Hamlin back to life, is remarkable. And those are the real heroes that should be applauded, and they should be celebrated for their remarkable job that they did to have this player, this person, be able to still be alive and have the opportunity to recover. He is now out of the hospital, which is incredible. The recovery for him has been going extraordinarily well, they said. And even though I'm not a Buffalo Bills fan, I think the whole rest of the world was this past week or so, with hoping for the best for this player who just, it was such a unfortunate set of circumstances that came. There was nothing dirty about the hit. It's just, he collapsed, and that's the game of football. I think a lot of us forget that these players are human. They're human beings, and they deserve to be celebrated, and they deserve to, we need to know the ins and outs of, these are things that can happen in sports. But it was a lot bigger than sports, this whole thing. So kudos to all the medical professionals out there, and we wish for the best for Damar Hamlin, and hopefully he gets back onto the football field. We don't know the future. We just don't, but that's still a possibility.
Yeah, that's, I'll echo those sentiments. And yeah, I'm glad the medical staff did what they had to do. And it's kind of remarkable that they could. And
no question asked.
A blessing to him and anyone else and his family.
We will, on our next program, talk about more about the playoff outlook and see where things will look for certain teams. My hope is that the Bucs somehow figure it out and Brady works his magic. I don't know if he has it in the cards this year, because the Bucs team, not him, but the team in general, has been very mediocre at best, kind of Patriot-esque in a way. But we'll see. We'll see what happens from everything from there. I'm did want to
Jags.
You're rooting for the Jags.
I am,
so Trevor Lawrence and crew.
There you go.
I did want to go very quickly, because the Red Sox do unfortunately deserve at least a few moments of my breath. Rafi Devers is your long-term commitment for the Red Sox by signing an extension that'll guarantee him now 11 years. It's a crossover from the 1 year, 17-point-something million deal he signed for arbitration. So this is a 10-year. It's roughly $331 million that you are paying to Devers. To my surprise, they got it done. I was stunned when I heard this announcement last week about this. I thought he was as good as done here in Boston. But again, I applaud you Bruins fans from last Monday by annihilating the hell out of John Henry, by making him realize that you are going to lose your fan base if you do not have a cornerstone of your youth as a part of your franchise moving forward. So I give him credit for that. But I will tell you, Phil, this does not change how I still feel about this team. This team is a joke. They are your last placed AL East team right now. They are worse than the Orioles. They are worse.
Oh, and Trevor Story. You heard about that.
We just found out about Mr. Injury Prone. I've echoed this on this show since the day he was signed. He is one of the most overrated, injury-prone players in baseball. And you stupid fools in the baseball operations department signing him last year was the bit one. It's going to go down as one of the worst contracts that this team has handed out. It's going to be top 3. I don't know if it can be worse than Sandoval, but this is not going to be a good deal. I do not see him back in 2023. I do not. And now you are without a second baseman, a shortstop, a starting catcher, really anything about a first baseman, because you don't really know much about Tristan Casas. You really don't have a catcher. It's a joke.
Yeah. When I heard
Let's
about
be
the
real.
yeah.
And anybody out there that's saying, "Oh, you got Devers and this team's going to look," what smoke are you blowing? Like, your team sucks.
And don't even pitching. You lost how many starting pitchers did you lose?
Oh,
Yeah.
they don't know what they're doing. They're banking on Chris Sale of being 2017 Chris Sale. He's going to fall off his bike next week and he's going to be out for the season. Come on. So I'm sorry to be as negative as I am on this team. I don't want to be negative, but what you see in front of you, fans, is an absolute disgrace. Xander Bogart should still be here. Hell, Mookie Betts should still be here. There is no excuse when you
Andrew
are
Benintendi should be here.
He should be. There is no excuse when you have a multi-billion-dollar owner not stepping up to the plate and keeping your homegrown players here. There was no excuse for John Lester not to be here. There was no excuse for Mookie Betts to be playing for the Dodgers. And there is no excuse in the world where Xander Bogart should be playing for the San Diego Padres. It is a disgrace. And to be a fan of the Red Sox right now, I can't. I cannot be a fan of what this organization has done to this team. They've gutted them like a fish.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Rant over.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, I heard about the story. I'm like, oh man, Nick's gonna be pissed. Or Nick was dead on. Oh,
no,
yeah.
I wasn't pissed. I was actually laughing. I said, wow. I go, what a shocker that is. They knew about this before the season ended. They knew about this.
Yeah, they did. Right before they got eliminated, right?
And they didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Oh, he'll be fine. Oh, he'll throw a ball in January. He'll be all healed.
Yeah.
Medical imbeciles over there.
Well, that's the thing.
Fort Yawkey Way, whether it's Jersey Street or not. I don't care.
They took a chance at it, and they really bad stab. It was a really bad stab.
You got me all fired up again, John Henry. So congratulations.
Yeah, you got him caring.
Twitter will probably be suspended in a week now too. No, I'm only teasing. I've been good on that. Thank you, Elon Musk. That's gonna do it here for a jam-packed edition of Face the Facts. We hope everybody is having, like I said, a great New Year's. We have lots more to talk about on our next show. We'll talk about the playoffs for the NFL without the Patriots. Hopefully that'll be the last year we'll be saying that for a while. Any last things, Phil, before we wrap it up for today?
No, it's a great time to watch. The NFL playoffs are a lot of fun. Stay safe, and watch some B's and C's and
go Bruins.
Go Bruins, go C's. Yeah, take it easy.
You can say go C's, but I'll say go Bruins. Go Celtics too, I guess. We'll hopefully be optimistic on what they'll be doing towards the end of their season. We will see you next time on Face the Facts. See you later.